We are back on the death lineup to talk about the Warriors really getting the bump speed off of them by the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. But we'll also talk about the game on Saturday, in which they did the same thing to the Boston Celtics. But before that, since we are a network that covers the Warriors, the 49ers, and the Giants, we kind of got to talk about Carlos Correa for a few seconds here. The Giants signed him or are in the midst of signing him to a 13-year deal for $350 million. So no Aaron Judge, but they get Carlos Correa. And I don't know what they do with Crawford now. I guess someone's got to play second base.
Estrada.
I know, but then we're just
then third. I feel like third's the more open position because you got JD Davis, VR, and Craw. I think that would be. I mean, like, are we? This is like an issue that I feel like is small picture. Big picture. We signed Correa. Let's tackle that one when we get there.
Second base is you probably want your second best infielder at second base. So I don't know what that says for Estrada. Maybe he becomes a little bit more of a utility.
Yeah, well, they were using him in the outfield a little bit. Like a couple games, I remember him in left, and I mean, he's speedy. So
yeah, and yeah, we'll see what happens at third base there. There's lots of implications to this thing because the Giants' top prospect is Marco Luciano. He is playing shortstop currently, but I think he always he always modeled better as a corner infielder just because of his size, or maybe a corner outfielder. But yeah, so yeah, good stuff there. And everything will come out tomorrow, I'm sure, but we just had to announce it. We had to mention it because it just happened about like 15 minutes ago. So
we need BSPN credentials at the Carlos Correa press conference, and I'll just take video the whole time.
Yeah, that would be cool. So one other thing is we are streaming on YouTube and we are streaming on Twitter as well. However, I have not been able to update Facebook in any way to even let folks know that we were recording because Facebook disabled my Facebook account for some reason. I have no idea why.
It happened to me too.
They didn't tell me why. I requested an appeal, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's kind of funky. Like I've never been fully locked out of Facebook before in the entire time I've had an account, which probably goes all the way back to 2006 or I don't know, maybe even before that.
You got locked out of Facebook? I thought you just got StreamYard wasn't letting you post on Facebook.
No, got locked out of Facebook. So I didn't even stream onto into our group or onto the page because I didn't know if like that was going to be some sort of demerit against me if it actually worked, and I technically have a disabled account. So
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Bad times. I mean, you know what I do for next door is make people follow the community guidelines. So if anyone to like violate rules, like I'm like the last person to do that. So it's got to be some sort of mistake, or I may have to hit up some folks who work there. So okay, so while we're not streaming to Facebook, we are sure, like I said, YouTube and Twitter. Let's talk about what was a very, very disappointing game, though I don't know if it was all that unpredictable. The Warriors in Milwaukee, they looked out of sorts and frustrated, which was kind of the opposite of the game at Chase on Saturday against the Celtics. I have a problem when Steph starts slow, and I think some of this may be a Jordan Poole thing. Like, let's try to get Jordan Poole off because he is in the starting rotation. And so Steph kind of tries and set people up. But I think because Jordan Poole hit the first three, then Clay hit a couple shots. But pretty much when Milwaukee took the lead, I was like, okay, this is not going to be a Jordan Poole game. It's not going to be a Clay game. If we win, this is going to be a Steph game. And still, he was not aggressive. He was trying to pick his spots. And then the game ran away from them. And then he had to be aggressive. And he was super frustrated. He got a tech from being fouled. that wasn't called. Steve Kerr also got a tech. Then Andre got a tech at some point. In the commercials, Kuminga got a tech. Poole got a tech. These guys are out of control, and you cannot give Milwaukee not only all the momentum, but just like 5 or 6 free throws that you don't get back. I think the Warriors may have gotten 2 back. But yeah, what a disaster that game turned out to be, even though I think if they'd just played it straight and had maybe had Kuminga in there a little bit more against Giannis, there would be small things to say, okay, that wasn't that bad. But the way that they played it, they went after it and then they were just dead. Like, I don't understand the energy part of this, considering Milwaukee's one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we have less of a problem with Curry starting slow if Clay and Poole are able to kind of get hot early. And Clay was doing fine early, but he ended up with what, like a 6 of 20 shooting line, like it was
6 of
something pretty,
16.
pretty atrocious like that. But they played the Bucks twice last year, and the first time they played them, the Bucks whooped them like by like 50 or something like that. And I think the next game they went and played the Bulls and then whooped the Bulls like the Warriors did. But I remember the second time the Warriors played the Bucks, the Warriors beat them, and Steph didn't do anything. Steph was just like Mr. Gravity, where Drew Holiday and someone else were doubling him, and Poole and Clay had a really good stat line and were able to, just pick up the slack for Steph just not even being able to get a shot off because of how they were guarding him. And so I don't know if they were going for a similar game plan like that early in this game. I mean, it was just no Drew Holiday, so it was what, Javion, I think his name's Javion Carter, who wasn't bad defensively against Steph. Like, he was kind of like, Steph gets annoyed with those little pesky defenders, like the Facundo Campazzo. I'm probably saying his name wrong too, but all those little guys who guard him full court, it pisses him off. And I thought that he was going to get pissed off by Javion doing it, but Javion, not to say he had his number, it was just it was coupling of Steph, not really bringing it this game, and coupling of the Warriors deciding letting the early techs kind of affect them, and and then a little bit of Carter actually being a pretty good defender. I think all of that just kind of put together was not great for Steph.
I don't know that it was necessarily. I mean, Carter, he basically has to give up everything the rest of his game just to focus on Steph. But Steph didn't even really push it at all. He was just completely comfortable giving up the basketball. And maybe it is a thing where, again, he wants to get Clay and Jordan in the game. He wants to get them going because he knows if they're going, then, late in the game, they'll be dependable. But Jordan Poole had a bad game. He was missing layups. He was missing open threes. When the Warriors made a little bit of a comeback at the end of the first half, and he had a sequence in which he gave up a wide open 3 in the corner to kind of get Milwaukee back on track. And the whole reason is because he went for a steal. And so I paused it to see how close he was to the steal. It was even like a half-assed attempt at trying to intercept the pass. And so I'm just like, man, if you don't have it, like, that just means it's going to be ping, bing, ping, bing in the corner 3 ball. It's like, why risk something like that? And then he gets the ball at the end of the first half, and he's slips like he always does. Ball goes out of bounds, and it's just like, Steph is right there. Like, if you're not going to give it to Steph, you need to do something with the basketball. And dribbling it out of bounds is about the worst thing you can do. And I don't know if Steph was really frustrated. He probably wasn't frustrated at his teammates. He was probably frustrated at those refs. But, this is Steph giving Jordan a chance at the end of the quarter, which is Steph time. We saw that against Boston. He hurt so many feelings in the right before the half in the Boston game. And yet it's Jordan. He's breakdancing and slips and dribbles the ball out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of stuff, I know they want him to be aggressive. I know they want him to be confident, but some of it is like, if Steph has this basketball, I'm going to be able to get open, right? If Steph has this basketball, because more tension is going to be on him, now I can kind of get an open shot and go behind some screens and let's run a play. If he's breakdancing and he does not get to the bucket, it is a waste of a possession. And I just don't, in that game with the momentum going the way that it was, Milwaukee's really good. They bottled Jordan up the first half. It's just like, okay, this is time to give it to Steph and let him do something, and I will go and get open. It's just stuff like that that kind of frustrates me about this team. But Steph, at the end of the game, he said something about, if you ask me after game 10, my answer is a little different. He thinks that they're close. He thinks that they're, getting there. So that's good to hear. But, in a game like this against a team that is this long, if their offense is not cooking, you see what happens, because it was cooking in Boston.
Yeah.
And Boston is the one who was sort of playing like, not their style of basketball. And for whatever reason, the Warriors, that was the Warriors tonight.
Yeah. And I mean, the loss of Wiggins is like such a weird loss almost, because you look at like the replacement on how they would fit that into the starting lineup. If you lose Draymond or Kuminga, it's pretty, or sorry, not Kuminga, Draymond or Looney, it's pretty easy to just insert like Kuminga into the starting lineup. If you lose Steph or Clay, it's pretty easy to just insert Jordan Poole into the starting lineup. But when you lose Wiggins, like then you have to put in the Poole in the 3-guard lineup to start the game. I don't like that lineup
And
at
then
all.
you know who plays a lot? Not my guy, Anthony Lamb.
He's been good lately. Yeah, he's kind of good today. I do have a stat. He
hit-
was
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say in the plus minus category, I think Patrick Baldwin had a team high plus minus of 4, but he only played like 10 minutes or 8 minutes. Anthony Lamb played 25 minutes and had a +2, I believe it was. So like, I actually thought he had a good game today. I thought Lamb actually had a good game today.
Against that Milwaukee Bucks team, he's too small, and he stuck the first 2 threes, and then the other ones were like barely hitting the rim. It's like he sucked us in there, and then it was sort of back to what we usually see from that 3 ball. It's not his fault. He's not supposed to be playing in games like this necessarily. He's a rookie as well.
No, he's not.
What is second year?
Second or third. He was on the Rockets and the Spurs, I think.
I was gonna say something off of
Wait, really quick.
Said. Oh, go ahead.
Go for it. I was just gonna ask. We knew it was PBJ's hometown game. Isn't it Loon's and Jordan's as well?
Yeah.
I think there is something to like. I don't think Jordan's played well in Milwaukee yet. Like if you look at his rookie year, he was probably in the G League when they played him in Milwaukee. Second year, I don't know if he was doing anything yet. I don't really remember the Milwaukee game in Milwaukee that year. And then last year they get absolutely killed. And then this year, I just like I think he might get butt cheeks playing in front of like his old girlfriends in the crowd or something. It feels like he was kind of just trying to do too much. And some of the shot attempts he got off were fine. Like he did some pick and roll and was able to get off some wide open like free throw range middies, and he just couldn't cash them. Yeah, there is something to be said about that, I believe.
You know that the Bucks have just about the perfect player for the Warriors, and I'm not talking about Giannis. I'm not talking about Brook Lopez. Not talking about Middleton. Bobby Portis. Oh my gosh! If JaMychal Green could do 1/4 of what Bobby Portis does for the Bucks, gosh, that would be so.
Tell me, PBJ doesn't feel like he could like do that at some point.
I want to see more of him. He's got to play in games like this where he gets a little bit of a real NBA competition. Like I told you in text, I worry a little bit about his athleticism. But how nice was it for Milwaukee to go, okay, Giannis, needs a playoff. Middleton is kind of out near the 3-point line. And Bobby Portis, just go get a bucket. And it's just like dribble, pump fake, fade away, bucket. Like,
yeah, he's good.
They don't get that at all from anybody. You would think, I think they want Kuminga to be able to do that at some point, but he's not quite there yet, unless he can get a layup or a dunk, right? But yeah, they don't get that at all. When they, I guess their version of that is Wiggs in the post. And, sometimes he throws up an ugly jump hook that has no chance, but sometimes he can hit that little step back. So that's the when they need a 2, sometimes it's just Wiggs in the post. and he's not playing right now. So their I need a two is like a Clay mid range, 17-footer or something. And you noticed Brooke Lopez also not really happy going out on shooters, but it's a lot different when you're attacking Brooke Lopez and Blake Griffin and who's Luke Cornett, then Giannis, right? Because Giannis was able to contest. Like Giannis is doing a
Brook
little bit
Lopez
of
is one of the
drop.
best interior defenders in the league.
No, but I know, but I'm saying he
Giannis doesn't drop like
drops
that.
and you can shoot that mid range. Giannis drops and he can still get out on that mid range. So that was very interesting.
Yeah,
to see.
and that's one of my points too, is that I felt like I would like to know, and it's something we could figure out, but I just don't want to look it up. Warriors average 3-pointers attempted. And I'd only really be interested in the first 3 quarters because no one really played in the last quarter, but average 3-pointers attempted compared to this game, because they did have some, like, those 2 Lamb threes, the couple DiVincenzo threes, felt like not as many Curry threes, not as many JP threes. Clay kind of hoisted them, but wasn't really cashing them. But like the Bucks shouldn't be able to limit our 3-point attempts as well as be that good interior defensively. Like, I just think that maybe we were not as willing to shoot, because against the Celtics, who play drop coverage, like that was like the game plan was like, okay, no Horford or no Rob, even though they play drop, like Luke Cornett's not going to contest anything. So I just don't know why that wasn't like almost identical strategy against the Bucks.
So the Warriors shot 53s today and they made 20 of them. So
That's
they shot 40.
That's 40.
They shot 40%. Steph was 3 of 10. DiVincenzo was 4 of 10. Some of that was Baldwin at the end there. He did hit a couple of those.
Kuminga too. Yeah, I'd only be interested in knowing quarters 1 through 3, but yeah. Steph did take 10. That is like his, like above it or his average, or a little below. I don't. But yeah, I mean, Brooke does play heavy drop. I think the Bucks are the team that I'm scared of the most out of the entire league in a 7-game series.
Giannis did not play. I wouldn't say he played that well.
I don't think he played well, but
he would just whenever they were out on the fast break, he got a bucket. In a set, anytime he had to actually shoot, he missed. He was 9 of 26 shooting tonight. And he got two 10 seconds on the free throws. What's going on there?
That was weird. I think when you look at a player like Steph, how good Steph is, like even if Steph has a bad game, it's like, okay, well, he still was able to create shots for others just by being in the game, like that type of gravity stuff. Like Giannis has a similar effect as well, but also like if Giannis has a bad game, like he's still gonna foul out like 3 of your guys. Like that's still a skill he has without even having a good game. Kuminga basically had 5 fouls, or he basically fouled out. JaMychal Green fouled out. Like, I don't know what Draymond was at, but they kind of pulled him early. I don't know what Loon was at, but Giannis has that to him. Even if he's having a bad game, he's able to just rack up the foul count on all your guys.
Yeah. And they got the benefit of
they got
playing at home, getting a good whistle, and the Warriors, they weren't going to get it because what were they doing after every call?
Complaining and
whining like babies. Jeez. Jonathan Kuminga has not done anything in this league to deserve how many times he yells at officials because he's unhappy with the call. Like, I don't know where he gets that from.
I feel like I'm not tolerating any Kuminga disrespect in this podcast for the next couple of weeks.
It's not disrespect.
He's allowed to yell at refs if he wants, man.
I just want to see the guy play hard defense.
He does.
Or play hard offense.
He does.
And make a play.
Yep.
And just be like, that's just what I do, and go back. Like a lot of times on offense, that's what he does. But on defense, he's so jumpy and hyper and going crazy and yelling at refs. And I'm just like, you're hurting.
You pick and choose. You pick and choose. Because you want Wiseman to do it, but when Kuminga does it and has a little bit of fire to him, now you're off.
No, I don't. I like the fire. I like the fire when it comes to being aggressive.
He's just playing. He plays with a lot of emotion. Like that's part of it. Like
that, but that hurts him with the referees. It doesn't help him. He's got a fiery coach. He's got Draymond's been like he's been the best.
Did
student
he even
out
get
there.
tech today?
No,
that's got to be a record. Like how many techs were assessed in a game and Draymond wasn't one of them?
What was the deal with the guy that they had kicked out of the game?
I heard Draymond was just chirping. There was a Bleacher Report video that I didn't watch. I don't know what was said. I don't know if he said anything in a press conference, but yeah, it sounds like this guy was just chirping.
On social, it said something about a like a death threat or something. Like
Oh my
the
God.
fan was like saying something about gonna kill him. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, he quickly they quickly got that dude out of there.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. I mean, again, to my point though, it's like Steph, Kerr, Kaminga, Jordan, and then on the other side, Bud. There's like I think three techs for the Bucks. None of them were Draymond. It's
Mm-mm.
this punching pool namaste Draymond. Like he just wants to make he wants to rebuild repair relationships and he just not gonna get attacked.
Well, the one thing he had the ankle tweak, and so there was talk about whether or not he's gonna play. I did notice he was not as active on offense in doing the pass out and immediately screen for the
Mm,
guys. Like he wasn't doing that a lot. So I wonder if that was hampering the ankle was hampering his mobility to really get out there and do that because that's such a big part of their offense is him just passing and immediately screening. But he wasn't doing that a lot. Um, but by the way, I did say I wanted Kaminga to play more and to guard Giannis. So I did want to see him in that. You needed it was quite obvious that Draymond was not interested in, trying to figure out. He was just trying to play straight up. He's trying to play straight up as much as possible. And Giannis can get to the rim so easily. And it was frustrating for him. But I wanted to see Kaminga get a chance because Kaminga's got those fast twitch uh, muscles and he's got quick hands and he may have been able to give Giannis some frustration, like you said, guarding him full court or whatever, just
yeah,
bothering him, right?
I tweeted that last year when they were down by 50, and Coach Bud just loves to keep Giannis in when they're up by so much. And so they put in Kaminga. I was like, let's see what Kaminga does on Giannis. And it actually wasn't bad. But today it felt like Looney was just the best defender on him. The thing is, though, in the beginning of the game, it seemed like Draymond and Looney were kind of just like walling off the paint, which left Brook Lopez open, and Brook Lopez started the game like 4 or 5 for 5. And
I,
and then
I
when you
was
put
fine with that though.
yeah, me too, because he's not going to do that the entire game. But you put Jermichael Green in, and then Brooke was like, "Okay, I'm just going to shoot over him. I'm wide open." Um, but do you have any I don't know, how do you want to close this? Then we should probably talk about the Boston game. But I feel like the closing remarks is that maybe we start guarding Giannis a little more up, even though he can't shoot a three, but it's because it stops his momentum from getting to the paint and being able to wiggle around. There is something to be said also about, I don't want to sound like the complainer fan, but a lot of the Celtics fans were complaining in the playoffs. Like
Yeah,
there is something about when Giannis hooks, you're not allowed to do that. Like Giannis creates all the contact, and I understand that some of them are fouls.
yeah,
Not every single one of them are fouls. The one that the Warriors challenged, like that wasn't a foul. They went straight up, in my opinion. I don't think
yeah,
like Giannis created the contact. They went straight up. Giannis flailed his legs out. Like that's just all. That's good defense. I don't know
yeah.
how that was called a foul and also not overturned. So I think Giannis is the best player in the league. I'll say it here on this podcast. I think Giannis, Steph, and Jokic in some order for me, at least. I know you're your KD guy and stuff like. I get that KD's probably 4 for me, but I don't mean no disrespect to Giannis, but I think they do need to call him a little more on the offensive fouls because he gets away with a lot.
He's probably the hardest guy to referee. It's kind of like Shaq back in the day. Like
Mm.
you could have called a foul on defense against Shaq like every single time down the court. But you can't because you're stopping the game by doing that. So I'm sure Giannis takes his fair share of punishment that doesn't really get called because he's so physical as well.
Mm.
But yeah, that play that you're mentioning, if you're
It's against
Draymond
Dre and
and you're
Kuminga.
Looney, or was it Looney?
Dre and Kuminga.
Dre and Kaminga. They did everything that they were supposed to do, and sometimes Giannis is going to be able to dunk through that. He didn't. He actually I think he either lost the ball or he shot it short or whatever. And so that was good defense. You need to reward the good defense. The one time that you can actually play good defense and stop that guy, and then the referee still bailed him out, which was unfortunate, but oh well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that Boston game on Saturday. Much better basketball game if you're a Warriors fan. But didn't it just seem like Steph came out like wanting that game?
Yeah, you're right. You always say it. TK always says it. Like some of these games get the Warriors up. Like
Yeah.
Memphis is about to do that to them on Christmas. Like they're going to come out and play. I'm convinced that they're going to bring their best effort against Memphis, and Memphis has been so good right now. But yeah, some of those games do, they as much as they probably don't want to admit it, like they do come to the table with more and ready to go in games like against the Celtics and games against, LeBron's Cavs,
But
probably
also it's
against
at
LeBron's
home,
Lakers too.
right? It's like a
And it's at
home
home. Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like we said, the energy was so different from the beginning of that game. It felt bigger. It was a Saturday night game. It was the first ABC game of the season. It felt like this was a big deal. And Tuesday night in Milwaukee, random TNT game. They're the early game, on the East Coast, so there's a little bit of a time change. Maybe
Yeah.
some of that is part of it. We'll see tomorrow if they're acclimated because they'll play Indiana, and some of this is like Dre and Clay. Their excuse tomorrow cannot be that they got burnt out from tonight's game because I think Steph played 27 minutes. So
Really quick, what's your starting lineup for tomorrow? No Clay Thompson and no Wiggins. Are you going Poole Lamb and Steph and Dre and Loon? Or are you gonna throw Moody in there?
why don't they just play Kaminga?
Then you have three non-shooters at the court to start the game. Unless they start believing in Kaminga's three-pointer, because Kaminga actually shot the three ball well today. I think he was like 3 for 5.
Mm-hmm. 3 for 5. Lamb is kind of a non-shooter too, though. What is Lamb shooting for the year from
It's
3 point?
probably good. I would expect. We should look this up.
Okay, I'll let's see if the Warriors website has his full stats here.
You just basketball reference it, man.
I was already on the Warriors page. He is shooting 38% from 3
Dude, that's
point.
great.
He's making 1.1 of 2.8 attempts. He's shooting 51% overall. And oddly, he's shooting 33% from the free throw line.
He probably takes like one every 3 games.
Well, if you were to guess, what would you think Anthony Lamb's collective plus minus is?
I don't even want to guess.
Actually, it's per game. Plus minus per game, I think, is what it is.
2 plus 2.
-1.5.
Wow.
For Anthony Lamb. So yeah, I guess he probably is and he's not. They trust him to not screw stuff up. They trust him to not all of a sudden, gets his first 5 minutes in, and Kaminga could have 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes just because
He needs to work on
he's
that.
so hyper and he's so into it. JK is shooting 29.2% from 3.
But it has been better lately. That's kind of, I think, what they might be looking at.
And he's
But they don't want
minus
him.
3.3 plus.
I don't know if they'll ever want him to like catch it like Wiggins, and Wiggins like, okay, I'm shooting this. Like, I don't think they'll ever want that from him. At least for this year.
Yeah, I mean, why are we not seeing Moody a little bit more?
I was gonna make a point as to why I think PBJ should play, and it kind of Moody. I feel like Moody's playing time messes with my point I'm about to make, but I just feel like you have to play guys in some capacity who are able to shoot the ball at a professional level. And I think Moody and PBJ, for as young as he is, he airballed one today. I think it's not that great, but Patrick can shoot. Like, he's kind of knocked down for his size too, and for how young he is. Like, he's a really good 3-point shooter. And I was gonna say, like, you almost need to give him a run because of how good he is from there and how bad JaMychal Green has been from there. But then that completely messes up my point that Moody's not getting like the run that I think he should be getting. But yeah, we talk about this every week.
Yeah,
we're like, why doesn't Moody play that much?
Well, in a game in which the Warriors didn't really like, even when they made a little run in the end of the first half, I was not convinced that they were going to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, they're probably losing this game. In a game like that, where the whole thing is kind of decided, Moses Moody only played 2 more minutes than Patrick Baldwin.
Yeah, that's weird.
And JaMychal Green, who was terrible, he was really bad. all this guy's supposed to play small ball 5 or power forward, and all of his shots were from 3.
Nate
No,
Duncan tweeted. He said the Warriors are going to need to find a way to not have JaMychal Green in the playoffs.
yeah.
I agree with him.
JaMychal Green, 13 minutes, 6 fouls.
I almost like it was I made a very strong point in the beginning of the year that has just been a complete flop about who I thought JaMychal Green could be as a player, and I know we've referenced it a couple times on this podcast, but is there a point of like, trying to stick with him and see if he can start knocking down threes? I don't want that. I would rather just usher in and try PBJ, even though they're against the Rooks. But I feel like, PBJ is the coach's kid. He's the stereotypical coach's kid who does the things the right way. He looked lost out there, but it's because he's been in Santa Cruz, not playing Warrior sets. So I think once you get him into the Warriors offense, the off-ball screens, the defensive aspect of it as well, the screening for Steph stuff, I think I would much rather be watching PBJ go through the bumps and bruises than watch what JaMychal Green does out there on a nightly basis.
All right, well, we'll fully move to the Boston game, but I think Wiseman should have been on the court tonight. Not to say that he would have been a difference, but they needed some height and length in this game today.
Yep.
All right, so we were already talking about this Boston game. When you look at the numbers of this Boston game, the thing that stands out to me is even though we think that this fast 5 lineup with Jordan should get them going and should be a boost, even in that Boston game, it's rare that all 3 guys play well. It's usually if 2 of the guys play well, sometimes it's Steph and Jordan, and Klay struggles. Klay had his best game of the season, even though I still thought he was hunting a little bit too much.
Yeah.
34 points, hit 4 threes. Steph was 12 for 21. He hit 6 threes. Jordan was 1 of 9 from 3 in that game. Now, the one thing he did do well is he got to the free throw line. He had half of their free throws as a team just by himself, but 5 of 16 from the field in that 1 of 9 from 3. So it's still weird. Like whatever it is, like all 3 guys don't seem to play well together. So it has to be something.
Also, that isn't the fast 5. If Wiggins isn't there, that's technically not the lineup.
True. But just those 3 guys together, you would think that the offense would go up to the next level, right? It doesn't really work that way, though, because one of them might be in a different spot that they're not used to. Klay maybe is in a little more outside on the wing, and Poole's not having the ball as much if Steph's on the court. Whatever it is, it's just all 3 of them. They don't all play well together. It's usually 2, sometimes only 1, and Steph is the only one who has a good game.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they can win that way. But yeah, that's the first thing that stood out to me, because like when I was watching the game, and I hadn't looked at the box score in any way, but I was watching the game and I just assumed that everyone played well because the team played so well. And that is not really the case, especially with Jordan, Moses, and even DiVincenzo's plus minus was amazing. And I was just like, if in the back of my mind, if you would have asked me what DiVincenzo's numbers were, I'd have been like, oh, he had like 10 points. He had like 5 rebounds. He had like 5 assists, 3 steals. No, he had 3 points, and he had 8 rebounds and 3 assists. So it's just like you watch it, and when it looks like they're all sort of working together, and then you look at the numbers, it doesn't always look that way.
Yeah.
DiVincenzo was a plus 20, though. He and Steph were tied for the team lead, plus 20. JK had another great game, but he was actually a -3 in this game. I wonder what lineups he was going up against in Boston.
How many minutes did he play in
21?
That game? Okay.
But he was 14 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. The thing that stands out for him in that game is just the confidence. Like, he was so confident against, and it's some of it is like, oh, I'm playing against Tatum and Brown, and those guys are, two of the best, shooting guard, small forwards in the league. And so I'm going to raise my game to that level. So that was cool to watch. But yeah, I thought he played so confidently. He had that one where he did a move and he dropped the ball and then he got it and then he dunked from like
Dunked
underneath the
on
basket.
Tatum.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, it was like,
Mhm.
where's that? Where's that been? I
I
want to see
I
more of that.
I think it's also easier to be confident when like, you have Steph, Clay, and Draymond and playing with you. Like, if you're
Yeah.
going into a fight and you have, like, 4 huge guys, you're probably a little more confident than you should be, but, no, I'm with it. You know how high I've been on Kuminga.
My favorite, Grant Williams, -6. He did nothing on this court.
We've been really good at, the guys that Draymond picks on, and then he's
Yeah.
kinda in their head. Like, Blake Griffin's, like, one of them, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And now you have 2
Blake
of them.
actually played okay, but he just doesn't have that the ability to rise anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
Draymond eats his lunch every single
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. What I will say is that when we did the podcast and talked about the game last week, it was under the assumption that the only important player missing for Boston was Robert Williams.
Yeah.
And right when Al Horford was ruled out, I texted you and we have the text thread to prove it. I was just like, I think that, the Warriors are probably, I don't know if I said they're going to win this game, but I had their game plan. I was like, I think this is what they're going to do because the Warriors don't really like just doing like the pick and roll and they like to get everyone involved. But it just
Mhm.
seems like sometimes just do the most simple thing because you look at when Rob Williams and Al Horford are out, you look at the Celtics' big depth. It is Blake Griffin, Noah Vonleh, who is like not a good NBA player, and Luke Cornett, who just plays ultra drop, like not like Brook Lopez worse type drop coverage. And so they just did that and they played those guys off the court. And then the Celtics didn't like turn to any bigs, I think, after Blake's first stint in the third quarter.
Mhm.
And so then the Warriors could just go back to playing their style, which is, move the ball off ball screen, all that stuff. But it just seemed like just do the pick and roll and have them play drop coverage and Steph and Jordan and Clay could just feast. And I think they did it perfectly. I predicted before Al went out, I was like, either the Warriors are getting boat race or they're winning this by a couple points. Like I
Mhm.
didn't expect the Warriors to win by like 20 or whatever they did. But that was before Al went out. When Al went out, I still didn't think that. I still didn't think the Warriors were going to win by 20.
Well, Cornett didn't even play. He played like 10 minutes. So it was Blake playing 20, and then they went to the small lineup because Brogdon and Derek White played a lot together. Derek White was so bad. I was like, oh my gosh. He beat us. He had a good game against us, like one or two games in the finals. Then he was bad the rest of the way. Jaylen Brown, though, man, God, he's so
So
good
good.
against us. And he's good against the rest of the league, too. I mean, you have two guys scoring over 26 points a game. But Tatum, if we're counting the finals, Tatum has had, I would say, a more average games or worse against the Warriors than he's had good games against the Warriors. And so I don't know what it is. And I don't know if it's just they're able to maybe be a little physical with him or he's, you know, thinking that he's got to take it over. But whatever it is, like, dude, just do what Jaylen Brown is doing. Just be aggressive and if you try and go to the hole and you get stopped by good defense, go into your bag, then you got another move, and then that good defense is all of a sudden, eating your fade away. Like it was a really good performance by Brown, and Tatum was a little bit more mechanical. Like it wasn't smooth. It was like Brown was. Brown was smooth. It's like boom, get to my spot, boom, okay, third move, and if I miss, no biggie. Tatum was just like so mechanical, and he there's a couple where he went to the hole and got a dunk or a layup, but everything just seemed so hard for him in that game.
Yeah, he seemed like he was settling way too much.
Yeah,
But, I thought what was interesting was that we talked about it on this podcast, how we thought that not only were the Warriors going to get up for this game, but
yeah,
the Celtics were going to have this one circled on the calendar.
yeah.
The Warriors took the finals away from them. The Celtics were like close to going up 3-1, and the Warriors end up just, going 2-2 and then winning the whole thing. But I just, I think we just expected the Celtics to want this one. And I think they did, but
in the press conference, the post game stuff, Tatum was saying that, it was just another game for them. And Brown said that they had this one circled. And then Marcus Smart was apparently okay. And this is according to, I listened to the Tampering Pod today, the Athletic show with Slater, with Sam Amick, and with Fred Katz. And Sam Amick was in the Celtics locker room.
Yeah,
and
he did
said
a
Marcus
piece. He did a piece with
Jared Wise.
Yeah, that's what it was, where they interviewed both Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, and Amick said that Marcus Smart's like always just been a really nice guy and always is like very warm and welcoming, but and he said no disrespect to Smart at all, but Smart was just really down in the dumps. So I'm just like that's intriguing that like Tatum has a bad game and he's like, no, we didn't circle this. This is just another game to us, and everyone else is like, yeah, no, we had this one circled, and they should have. And I don't know why Tatum. I guess I don't blame him for responding like that, but it's like, dude, you gotta show up. If you're having an MVP season, the Celtics, like you said in the podcast, is like the best offensive, like potentially all time as at the moment. And you're supposed to bring it. This team upset you in the finals, upset in quotation marks, but they lost to the Celtics the next game too. And then they played the Lakers tonight and only won by 4. I don't know if that was the Lakers playing really well. I didn't watch it. We're doing this podcast, but I wouldn't have been surprised if the Lakers won this game. So I don't know what's going on in Boston right now, but that was a nice one to win.
Anthony Davis is killing everybody.
Yeah, Anthony Davis has been awesome.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna get out of here in a second. So I think what we're gonna do is let's look at the schedule here. So they play Wednesday in Indiana, and it's a 4 p.m. start. So it's even earlier in this game.
East Coast trips.
And then Friday against the 76ers at
it's probably early too, right?
4:30.
Yep.
Sunday at 3 p.m. against the Raptors. No 49ers, though, so I'll be able to watch this one live. Niners play on Thursday, and Rod and I will be back Thursday night after 49ers Seahawks to talk about that game. And then Tuesday against New York, Wednesday against Brooklyn. So you and I will probably be back the Thursday the Thursday after the rest of the road trip. So we'll have like 5 whole games to talk about, and then we can preview the Memphis game. So we'll have a lot to talk about on the next show. We didn't have as much stuff to talk about on this one because we were only talking about these 2 games. But I thought, if the Warriors could pull off this Bucks game, it'll be a great night to do a recap show. And then they failed us. They're not dead to me like Aaron Judge, but man, this inconsistency of playing awesome and making me feel like, oh, they're back, and then playing terrible and then making me think like, no, there's no way, they're not even close. Like that's probably the hardest thing to watch of season so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's still some good things to take out of the bad. I think there most of the time usually is. It's I think Kuminga solidifying himself as the 7th best player on this team. Is a really good sign. DiVincenzo, the past 2 games has been absolutely terrific. Like even tonight against the Bucks, against all these players, homecomings, PBJ, Poole, and Loon, DiVincenzo took the revenge game really personally, and I thought he was awesome tonight.
He got a little comfortable with that shot though. I think he was like 5 of 15 shooting or something like that tonight.
He's the rebounding guard. He's the make the extra effort guy. Like I'm just, we talked about the potential Moody DiVincenzo package for Caruso. That's not really been a rumor except for Bill Simmons, but
yeah,
I like DiVincenzo. I like what he brings to the team. He brings the grit. He brings part of that grit and he's good enough to consistently play. Unlike Anthony Lamb's ideally gonna be sitting at some point consistently here. So
he's an easy guy to root for because he's a little on the small side. So he's diving all over the court and he's grabbing rebounds over big guys because he's reading them really well. I just want him to shoot. I just want him to be able to make a couple more threes because if he can do that, then his game just becomes so much better.
I feel like he's convinced he's like a sharpshooter. He doesn't have like a specific point on the court where he's just like consistently shooting it. He kind of shoots from all around the arc, and I don't know if he's that kind of guy.
He had 1 season in his young career so far. He hasn't been in the league that long, where he shot above 45% for the season. I'm talking 2s and 3s. One year in his entire career, so he's been a low 40 shooter for his career, and this year he is shooting 37.6% for the Warriors and 33.3 from 3. So that needs to be better because you can't you're talking about we need shooters on the court, and the only thing worse than a non-shooter who's not going to take shots is a guy who thinks he's a shooter and takes shots. Like those two things are really bad, and he needs to improve for that second unit on that because I think they trust him, right? Like you see. Like if he's the guy who shoots the open three at the end of the shot clock, the team looks like they're confident that it's going in, and I feel good that it's going in, but it's not going in as much as I think that they want it to go in.
Another good sign, Wiseman's kicking butt finally in the G League, like actually, stringing together really good stat lines with solid plus minuses too. And I don't know if Fitz is like the internal source here, but he said on the broadcast, like we expect to see him. Did you get the TNT broadcast tonight?
No, well, I recorded it off of Hulu, and Hulu almost always picks the NBC Sports Bay Area.
Yeah,
version.
I think you record that specific channel for.
I just record Warriors. That's all I record,
okay.
and it just picks.
I didn't get TNT tonight for some reason. It was weird.
So yeah, I would prefer the TNT broadcast, so I don't have to hear about Kalena's goggles and those little goofy stuff.
Kalena was singing at the end.
He's growing on me a little bit though.
Yeah,
I think he's much better this year. Fitz is still Fitz. When the Warriors are losing, Fitz is really bad because he just tries and makes excuses. But he didn't really do that tonight. He was just like, Milwaukee's just good, man.
And he's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fitz basically said on the broadcast that Wiseman's going to get some run in this road trip.
Yeah,
so
that's good. That's good. I'm hopeful. I don't know what he can give them this year, playing 5 to 10 minutes a game. I don't think that's good for him, but I also don't gather if they're barely playing Kuminga 21 minutes a game. I can't imagine that they're just going to throw Wiseman in for 15. It just doesn't seem like that's the thing. So he's going to have to, whenever he gets in the game, he's going to have to immediately contribute to the team or risk getting moodied, man. Because that's Moody's whole thing. Moody just knows if he makes a mistake, he's going out. So he doesn't want to make a mistake. And then he just passes up open shots. Anything else?
I was just going to ask, like, what is like the average minutes played for like the seventh guy in your lineup, in your rotation? Because is like Kuminga getting those average minutes? Like tonight he got 27, but it's because they gave up in the third quarter. So he was able to just play basically that whole time. But like normally, I don't know what his minutes played are, but like what's the normal average for like a guy who's supposed to be the seventh man in the rotation? Because I feel like he's probably still under that on average.
Yeah. Let's look at the Celtics. Let's just look at the Celtics.
They only play like 7 guys though.
Let's see.
I think it's either Brogdon or White.
And now their stats. Okay, so the Celtics player stats.
I'll look at Kuminga's basketball reference if you don't have it open.
Why do they do this?
You could do Celtics basketball reference. It's very
okay. I found it. Okay, so what do we consider their top 6 guys?
Starting lineup plus Brogdon, but Rob hasn't played, so like
Horford?
probably Horford and Grant as the obviously Tatum, Brown, Smart,
Jalen.
Brogdon as the 6th guy, probably Derek as the 7th guy.
Okay, so Derek White plays 25 minutes a game.
And Kuminga is at 16.9. Oh, no, 16.7.
So Grant plays 28.8. Brogdon plays 23.4. And wow, Sam Hauser plays 16.5 minutes a game.
Yep.
And Blake plays 16, but he doesn't play. He plays like every other game.
Yeah, he's gonna get DMPs when Rob gets back consistently.
Yeah. That they're gonna be dangerous when Rob comes back if he's healthy, because if he's hurt, he's still good hurt last year, but yeah, that you need to get those things right.
My point with that was just like you're saying, how can if the Warriors are only giving Kuminga X minutes, how can they possibly give Wiseman this? But I think they're gonna give Kuminga more on average.
Yes, I believe that. All right, so like I said, I think we'll be back next Thursday. So there'll be a lot of games to talk about, and then we can preview Christmas, which Christmas is on a Sunday, so we'll that, and they're the primetime game. So they're is it like a 5 o'clock game or something like that?
Ooh, nice. I'm so
It
excited
might be
for that.
It might be that. Okay, so we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Facebook has it all figured out so we can stream like normally. Anything on the bad this week that you want to mention? The bag, the BAM.
Football recorded. I got to post that, and then I think we're gonna talk Pelicans tomorrow because they're like the first seed in the West. We talked to Will.
The Suns.
They've sucked lately too. Both of Max's teams, the Suns and the Celtics, look like the clear number 1 seeds, and now they're both just like on losing streaks. I guess Celtics just won tonight, but yeah, I don't know what's going on in Phoenix.
All right, so that'll do it. We'll be back next week. So for Bri, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.